Let me make something abundantly clear. Christianity is a religion, and egalitarianism is a religion. You cannot serve both. If you're a Christian, keep yourself aware that Christ condemned serving two masters. Unlike most Western Christians, I don't try to serve two masters, Christ and egalitarianism. I'm going to be completely honest. What compelled me to make this video is the fact that my best friend and I have been on rocky ground since I, in the last year-ish, became quote-unquote racist. And by the way, I'm mixed, and he's completely white. That should be a shining example of what I said earlier about serving two masters. I, the mixed one, dare to disagree with that religion. Irony aside, I'll explain why this makes me so disappointed in my best friend. We have a mutual black friend. Yes, I am racist, unashamedly so, and I also have a black friend. I'll refer to this black friend as Philip. And the last time my best friend and I hung out, Philip came to hang out with us too. My best friend saw how I interacted with Philip. Was I hostile? Did I immediately leave because I didn't want to be near a black person? Did I do anything that you'd typically associate with racism? My best friend knows that the answer to all of the above is no. And what he may not know is that after he took off, I got caught up talking about politics and guns with Philip for about an hour. Just he and I, chilling, hanging out for about a solid hour. Nothing was wrong, everything was good, just like it has been for many years between me and Philip. My best friend, as much as I love the guy, probably can't make sense of everything I've said so far because he was raised with the BoomerCon worldview that you have to treat everyone as equal, or you're Hitler. And just like the boomers, he probably thinks that racism is entirely about skin color. Now that is asinine. In fact, skin color is at the bottom of a racist's priorities. Do you want to know what racism is? It's simple tribalism. It's preference. Yes, tribalism like preferring your country over other countries, or even just having a favorite sports team. Plain old tribalism that we already see all the time, just regarding race. Sure, some people might be racist simply because other races are not their own, but I think those types are few and far between. For me, it's about behavior. But you know what racism almost never is? It's almost never a desire to wipe people out or something. You see, I have this thing called pattern recognition, and I just happen to notice that blacks tend to be more violent than other races, which statistics back up. We notice that blacks act rather loud and unintelligent in general, and studies overwhelmingly prove that blacks have the lowest IQ of any race. We notice that sub-Saharan Africa is a shithole. Just name any country in sub-Sahara, and it always has been. While sub-Sahara still looks like a shithole, this is what Rome looked like 2,000 years ago, and this is what the Akkadian Empire looked like 4,400 years ago. This is sub-Saharan Africa like an hour ago. Conservatives, you need to start recognizing your inconsistency here. Either admit you're just as egalitarian as the left, or abandon equality altogether. My best friend believes that race has nothing to do with intelligence. He literally said that the problem with sub-Saharan Africa is their bad education system. Right. Africa has always looked like that because they've just had bad schools or something for 10,000 years straight. That makes sense. Human beings are not blank slates. That's what the left believes. Not only does the left believe in blank slate theory, but their entire worldview depends on blank slate theory. Yes, genes basically decide how tall someone's going to be, what someone's taste in food is going to be, what eye color they're going to have, whether or not they're male or female, and all the dimorphism that comes with that. And of course, genes decide skin color, but somehow the only things that genes have no effect on are intelligence and personality. What a coincidence that genes don't affect the two things that your egalitarian worldview doesn't want them to affect. As Christians, there is absolutely nothing wrong with recognizing this and taking precautions accordingly. Now, if somebody took their racism to such an extreme that they thought a group, any group, should be slaughtered simply because they were born into that group, that would not be Christian. We must still spread the word in Africa. We must still love all human life as human life, and we must recognize that everybody is an individual soul, which I do, which most quote-unquote racists do. Philip, the black guy that my best friend and I have been good friends with for quite a few years, he doesn't behave like most black people. He has no love for the Democratic Party, and his taste in music isn't street trash, so I enjoy his company. He's quite an enjoyable person to be around. Because it's not his skin color that racists have a problem with, it's behavior. That behavior doesn't apply to Philip. Therefore, I'm happy to be friends with him. Does it make sense now? Now, granted, I still don't want any of my kids reproducing with any of his kids for genetic reasons, but I still like the guy as an individual person. I'm already part black, and that was enough of a close call. But even if it was Philip's skin color, even if that's all there was to my racism, it still begs the question, so what? I don't like modern art as much as classical art. I don't like being around kids, and if I have to go somewhere and somebody has their kids there, I'm going to avoid the kids as much as possible. Yes, simply because they're kids. They're annoying. Do you consider that sinful? To all Christians who think equality and morality are the same thing, I have to ask, why does one have to view or treat someone as their equal in order to love them? I say this regarding women, and I'll say it regarding race. Why does someone have to view someone else as their equal in order to love them? Do you have to treat your children as equals in order to love them? As a parent, do you put all of your decisions to a vote? Like, hey, let's all vote on whether you guys get to stay up all night on a school night eating junk food and watching R-rated movies. Or is it more loving to treat your children like inferiors who don't know what they're doing because they obviously are and obviously don't? How about owning pets? Must you treat your pet as your equal in order to care about them too? Do you give your dog and your fish and your iguana a vote before you make a decision as their owner? Christians ought to be fully aware that God supports hierarchy, not equality. How do I know this? Because it's all over the Bible. And it's all over nature, which God created. God rules over humanity, humanity rules over all creatures, men rule over their wives, parents rule over their children. And according to the Bible, women just plain aren't allowed to do certain things because they are women. We see hierarchy all over the natural world that God created. Just name an animal. That animal has hierarchy in its life. Is not God the creator of the natural world? You mean to tell me that God put hierarchy all over the Bible and all over nature, and he made entire governments based on equality fail harder and more frequently than governments with natural hierarchy, and yet God is all about equality? Make it make sense. There's no such thing as an egalitarian Christian. Nature is hierarchical in all things. You don't have to treat your kids as your equal in order to love them. In fact, it's more loving to not treat them as equals. You don't have to treat anything as your equal in order to have love for them. That is the point. Love does not mean equality. As a Christian, if you think it does, you are a brainwashed fool. Let God tell you what love is, not the world. That's how Christianity has been subverted. For a religion where love is the basis of it all, it has allowed the world to define love in its own terms. Look at what Christians believe now. Love means don't correct bad behavior. Love means let me do whatever I want. Love means accept me as I am. Love means equality. None of these things are scriptural. None of these things are true, which would be obvious if you read any part of the Bible, including the Gospels. Equality is nowhere to be found in Scripture. In fact, Scripture is anti-equality in many passages. Frankly, I think the R word is a stupid word. More importantly, I think it's communist propaganda. Not liking certain groups as much as others doesn't mean you crave genocide against them. Wanting to harm certain groups simply for existing, that is unchristian. Seeing certain groups as less than human is unchristian. But not wanting to be around certain groups, not wanting to reproduce with certain groups, and wanting your society to be genetically unified, there's nothing wrong with these things at all. Besides, Christianity is based on loving people and hating sin. In other words, separating the soul from the flesh and seeing both as different things that ought to be treated differently. When I hear about Africa having yet another tribal war, it's heartbreaking to see so much death. And it's annoying that blacks are genetically inclined to be more violent. I don't think violence is unique to black people. Both world wars, after all, and another one on the way, were caused by whites. It's human to be disgustingly violent. Two things can be true at the same time. But I have a preference of staying with whites to avoid senseless violence in my neighborhood. That's it. It's stupid to read more into it than that. Everyone, everywhere, already has preferences like these, even the people who claim to be against this sort of thinking. Christians, stop playing the games of this world. The world doesn't tell us what love is. God tells us what love is.